Satyanarayana Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriet. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter number 1, beginning from verse number 55. So Sukhdev is now explaining how when Vasudeva told Kamsa that he will offer all his children to him, what was the reaction of Kamsa. So he speaks this verse. Sri Shuka Vacha Swasur Vadhat Nivivrite Kansastadvakya Saravit Vasudevo Pitam Pritaha Prashasya Pravishad Griham. So when Vasudeva spoke like this to Kamsa, then Kamsa, he understood that what he was saying is the right thing, and therefore he dropped the idea of killing Devaki, his sister. And Vasudeva was also satisfied by that, and therefore he went to his home with his bride. So at least he was successful. After a big tussle and giving different types of arguments, he was able to dissuade Kamsa from killing Devaki. So
I just had a couple of points to say. Like in yesterday's that verse we did, which you raised the Purvapaksha, the deliberation was only done, as Sukadeva Goswami said, by Vasudeva only and not by Kamsa. It was reactionary only. And one who has the knowledge, one who does the deliberations, can find the solution for that. One who doesn't have that knowledge will not be able to act upon it. And the second thing is related to this Vakya which you made it by Gadero. And Garaj Samaye Gadero ne Baap kevo. And how our Prime Minister is very well using this to convince the S Club of United States.
okay, thank you.
Babaji, I have a question from yesterday's class.
Yes.
Can I ask now or?
Yeah, you can ask. Go ahead.
I'm thinking about Devaki's point of view. She is Kamsa's sister. And she's saying that her own child is going to kill her brother. So the other alternative would have been to say, okay, we will just practice abstinence, not have children. Then you don't have to worry. Instead of having children and having them murdered by Kamsa.
Yeah, that is there, but that is also against dharma. Because if you marry putrartha kriyate bharya putram pinda prayojanam, the purpose of marriage is to have a son. That's the real purpose of marriage. So then why marry if you have to remain celibate and stay away? Why get into the trouble? Prakshalanadhi pankasya duradaspasam varam. Instead of putting your feet in the mud and then washing it, don't put it in the mud. Right? So getting married and then remaining celibate, don't get married. Okay. So, any other question anybody has or any
Babaji,
comments? Yes.
this remaining celibate,
Yes.
was that a matter of choice or in the previous times? Was it again a matter of choice or someone just turned out to be celibate and someone got into married life?
Well, just like when you're hungry, you eat, and if you're not hungry, you don't eat. So it's your choice. If you are not hungry, why should you eat? Right? It's not that you have to eat, that there is a law that you should eat every morning.
So even in earlier times, it was a matter of choice only. Or was it that these Brahmins were encouraged to become sannyasis or something like that?
No, it was choice. It was personal choice. Just like Kumaras, Brahma said you should get married, and they said no. We don't want to get married. That was their choice. Brahma was encouraging them to put their feet into the mud. Right? And they refused. But the others did not do that. The others, Atri, Vasishtha, Pulaha, Pulastya, Kratu, all this Marichi, they all married. So that was their choice. They could also refuse.
So finally, I just wanted to ask, like this saying that ये शादी वो लड्डू जिसने खाया वो पछताया, नहीं खाया वो पछताया. So is it coming from that time or is it recent?
Recent. Because at present people don't know what is shadi. They don't know its purpose. They are not trained. So therefore they are in trouble either way. And previously people were not in trouble either way. जिसने खाया वो भी खुश, जिसने नहीं खाया वो भी खुश. That was the previous situation. Because people were trained from the very beginning and celebrate, and after that, if they marry, that is also a celebration. And if they don't marry and remain celibate, that is also a celebration. Now it is both ways trouble. Previously it was both ways good. So Bhishma did not marry, he was not repenting or lamenting. He lived happily. In fact, he did not go to forest or cave or mountain somewhere. He lived in the kingdom. And he was not married. And Krishna married. And many others married. They are not filing for a divorce in the court, right? They're fine with it. Okay. So what makes the difference is the education. Jnane nahi na pashu bhi samana. So without education, human being is an animal, and it's actually not true. He is dangerous animal, means worse than animal. He suffers more than animals without education. This is the situation at present. There is no education. Education does not mean getting all this information. Education about life. Now everything is taught in education. We are not taught what is the purpose of our existence. Why do we exist? Why do we study? What happens to life after this life? There is no education. So you give so much information, but what is the value of it? What do you do with it if you don't have the purpose? It's like you have a car, it's full of gas, you're there, but you don't know where to go. So what do? You go here, you go there, make accidents, go crazy, because you have no aim. Like young children do that, right? Young men, when they just learned how to drive, then they're going here and there. So that is not the purpose of car. So body is a car, right? Indriyani hai anyahu, shariram ratham uchyate, ratha, chariot, car. So it is moving, but you don't have an aim because you don't have a driver. That is buddhi. So that comes from education. So then you're aimlessly wandering here and there, seeking happiness without even knowing what is happiness, where to get it. Then what happens? Trouble, problem, more complications. And then you don't even know that you are not happy. Many people don't know this. They think they're enjoying because they're partying, they're doing this. So even to know this, that I'm not happy, I'm suffering, needs some intelligence. Right? Animals don't know. Many animals, they're suffering, they don't know that they're suffering. Because they don't have that kind of awareness. Their buddhi is not very developed. So human beings also, many human beings are like that. Or they say this is part of life. So many times I hear, well, this is part of life. Because they have not been educated that it is not really part of life. It's a bad bargain. So that's a very pitiable situation at present. And of course people will not agree with me because it hurts their ahankara. How can you say that we are not enjoying? No, if you don't know what is enjoyment, if you have never actually had real enjoyment, how do you know what it is? Then you are settling for all this nonsense and calling it enjoyment. You are not even peaceful. And if you are not peaceful, how can you enjoy? If your hand is not stable, how can you write? If your steering is not in control, how can you reach your destination? So if your destination is enjoyment, you need control over your mind and senses, which is practically nobody has, and there is no training in it. So with the enjoyment, so the people don't even know what it really means to enjoy. So then whatever they are feeling, they think this is enjoyment. So that is all tamasic and rajasic. They don't have an idea even of sattvic enjoyment. And real enjoyment, as Krishna says, sukham dukkha sukhatyaya. Real happiness is beyond this sukha and dukkha. That they don't even have an idea that there is something like that. Okay, so finally this drama ends. So Vasudeva comes home, but you can understand his situation now. He is on one side he is married, which is a happy occasion. Other side he is worried whoever is born, how to give it to Kamsa. And how much Devaki must be in anxiety because of that. And at the same time they also have happiness because they know that the 8th child will be Krishna. So they are also hoping for that. So this was the reason that they were having children, because they knew that the 8th son will be Krishna, and therefore they were willing to sacrifice the other 7, which actually means 6 only. 7th was Balram. So it is worth sacrificing 6 children if you can have Krishna as your son. Right? So abstinence is not a good solution. So Sri Vishwanath comments, Vakyasya sara tat satyatvam Vasudevo mithyana brute iti sarvtha janati. So what is the meaning that Kamsa, he was Vakya Sarvit? Literally Vakya Sarvit means that he knew the essence of Vasudeva's statement. So he says that the meaning that he knew the essence of Vasudeva's statement is that he knew that his words are truthful or true. Means he will keep his promise. he is not going to back out. So he had this much faith in Vasudeva, because as we said earlier that Vasudeva was already known, because he has already married how many 6 sisters before of Devaki. So that means Kamsa knew Vasudeva at least for 6, 7 or more years. So he knew that he will keep his word, and that's why he stopped. Tavaidam dharmshilatvam bhuvi praktibhutamiti prashasya. So Vasudevopi tam pritaha prashasya pravishad griham. So after giving respect to Kamsa and after being satisfied, so prasasya means praising. So he praised Kamsa when he said, okay, I will not kill her. So then he praised his act, that you're really a gentleman and your fame will increase because of this. Like that he praised him, and then he left. स्वाथ काल उपावृत्ते देवकी सर्वदेवता पुत्रान् प्रसूषुवे चाष्टौ कन्यां चैवनु वत्सरम. So now in due course of time, Devaki, who is called here as Sarvadevata, means who is the embodiment of all devas, she gave birth to 8 sons and also 1 daughter. So 9th was the daughter and first 8 were sons. So 9th was Subhadra, and 1 child was born every year, Anuvatsaram. So Anuvatsaram goes along with Astau Anuvatsaram, and Kanyamcha comes later, as he will explain. So Sarvesham Devadinam api Devata. So Sarva Devata means who is worshipable of all the devas, because Deva also means who is worshipable. So she is worshipable of all the devas. As we will see that when she was pregnant with Krishna, then all the devas came and prayed that famous Garbhastuti, Satyam, Satyavratam, Satyaparam Prasatyam. That prayer is by the devas, including Brahma. So therefore Devaki is called Sarva Devata. So Bhagavan Matritvat Pujya, because she is the mother of Krishna, therefore she is worshipable of all the devas. Kanyam Subhadra.
Classes, thank you.
So Kanya here means Subhadra, and Anuvatsaram Ashtasu Vatsareshu iti artha. So Anuvatsara means that in 8 years 8 sons were born to her. Vibhakti artha avyai bhava. So this Anuvatsaram is avyai bhava samas, means in 8 verses, years. Kanyam cha kale प्रतिवर्षम इति विप्सातु न व्याख्या. And also in due course of time Kanya was also born, and Kale Prativarsam. So he says that this Anuvatsaram should not be thought of as every year 8 sons were born. It can also be explained like that. Astau Anuvatsaram means, can also means Prativatsaram. Anu can also be translated like that. So he says it should not be explained like that. Ekekasmin varshe eva ashtputro utpatti prashakte. Because then you have to say that every year there were 8 children. right? Octuplets, what will you call them? So atra karanam agre vyakhyashyate. So he says the cause will be explained later on. So now he explains the first son. Kirti mantam prathamajam kansayanak dundubhi arpiyamasa krishrena sonritad ativivalaha. So the first child who was born was Kirtimanta or Kirtiman. So Kirtiman was the first one, and Vasudev, he took him, and what did he do? Kansaya arpyamas. He offered the child to Kamsa, Krishna, with great pain in his heart. It's not that he was happy to do that. So, Anritad Ati Vivala. He was very, you can understand his situation. On one side, he has to keep his word. On the other side, he has to give his newborn child to Kamsa. So at that time he said it, and Kamsa was about to kill Devaki, then he made the statement. But now when the actual occasion has come that he has to offer the child, it is very painful. So therefore it is said that Ati Vivala, Anritad. So he doesn't want to give, but at the same time he has to give, because he also has to keep his word. Anrita, he did not want to tell lies. And also it will be problematic if he doesn't give. Kamsa will know, then he will attack him, then he can kill both of them. So therefore he brought the child. Kirtimantam iti janmadineva kritanam karanam iti artha. So now the question is that how the child got the name, because name in India is not given when the baby is born. It is given later on 10th day.
6th day, communion 6th.
6th?
Chatti.
Chatti. Yeah, I don't remember, but one of the, I think 10th day they do the yagya. And 6th day they probably give the name. So the name is given on 6th day, so how he got the name on the very first day? So it is explained that this Kirtiman is his original name when he was the son of sage Marichi, because these 6 brothers, they laughed at Brahma and Brahma cursed them. So they have to be born now here because of the curse. So he said their name was, I think they were also born to Hiranyakashipu, if I'm not wrong, before this. This is their 3rd birth, I think. So Kirtiman is their original name, so that's why it's referred here as Kirtiman also. So kim dussaham nu sadhunam vidusham kim apekshitam kimakaryam kadaryanam distajam kim dhritatmanam. So this is of course a very extraordinary act on his part. So for this Sukadeva Goswami makes this statement, that thinking how is it possible that Vasudeva could do such a thing. So therefore it says kim dussaham nu sadhunam. What is that a sadhu cannot tolerate? Because it is a very intolerable pain to give your own newborn baby for being butchered mercilessly. So he tolerated this because he has given word to protect his wife. So So therefore it says Kim dussaham nu sadhunam. That what is that a sadhu cannot tolerate. So knowing that this is God's will, he tolerated that. So we also face many situations in our life and we cannot counteract everything. Sometimes we are just forced to do it. All the people are very proud thinking we are free, we are independent. But now when coronavirus came, everybody has to stay home. Right? So where is your freedom now? Go out, at least in India, you got a stick on your head from the police. So freedom is up in the air and you cannot fly in the air. cannot go anywhere. People got stuck. Right? So therefore you have to tolerate it. What can you say? So therefore he says, well, what can I do? You have to do things which you don't like to do. So you may curse, you may shout, you may do anything, you may jump up and down, but you have to go through that. So therefore he says, Kim dussaham sadhanam vidusham kim apekshitam. And what is that a learned, wise person want? Nothing, they are self-satisfied. So nothing is apekshita. So they are not, in other words, they are not dependent on any particular person or situation. And kimakaryam kadaryanam. And kadarya means low class people. What is that they cannot do? They can do anything. Like Kamsa. Anything means some low class, immoral act, irreligious act, like Kamsa killing the baby. That is the meaning here. It doesn't mean that they can do anything and everything. So kim akaryam kadaryanam dustyajam kim dhritatmanam. And those who are dhritatma, those who are fixed, have fortitude, or those who have taken shelter of Krishna's feet, dhritatma, what is that they cannot give up? Can give up anything. So that's a nice verse. So commentary. Nanu anritad vibhetu tamam nam swasakshadeva putravadha katham sodhavya. So a doubt is raised on the action of Vasudeva giving his first newborn baby to Kamsa. And the doubt is that, okay, we can understand that he had a great fear of telling a lie. So Andritad Bibhetu Tamam, let him be full of fear from being a liar or telling a lie. But how could he tolerate the killing of his own son? And we understand that he was fearful or inhibited due to not being untruthful. But how could he tolerate this? What made him tolerate such an act of offering his own son? Just try to imagine that you give your own son and you know that he will be killed. An innocent, the son has not done anything. What is his fault? So tatraha kim dussaham. So in reply to that, Sri Sukadeva Goswami speaks, kim dussaham. What is the word? No sadhunam. That Sadhus can tolerate everything. Nanu astamam ekam putram स्वभार्या प्राण रक्षार्थम समर्पित तमाम नाम पुत्रान समर्पिष्य अस्या इति निखिल पुत्रार्पण प्रतिज्ञाम तदा कंसस्य आज्ञाम विनय एव कथम अकरोत्. Now another doubt is being raised, that the voice from the sky said that the 8th child of Kamsa will kill, of Devaki will kill Kamsa. So he should have promised that I will give you my 8th child. Why did he say that I will give you all my childs? Kamsa did not say it. If Kamsa would have said that, okay, you have to give every son, that was fine. Why he himself offered it? He should have said, which is logical, that you have fear from the 8th son, so I will give you 8th son and you can kill him. So why did he promise to give all of them? It's a doubt. गृहस्थस्य तस्य पुत्रमात्र उपेक्षा न युज्यते तत्राह विदुषाम. So he says that he is actually a grihastha, and being a grihastha, he must need a son. Right? So here, why is that he was so indifferent towards son? So as I said, the purpose of marriage is to have a son. So he protected Devaki, and now when sons are being born, he is giving them. So what is the fun? He should have said, I give you the 8th son because I also need other sons. I am a grihastha, I am not a sannyasi. So therefore then he says that vidusham kim apekshitam, that wise people, what do they need? Only Krishna, nothing else. So for that he is giving. So Vasudevaha khalu karmi lokaiva na vidwanto bhakti gyan vairagya mahodadhe tasya kim putra iriti bhava. So he says that Vasudeva was not like other people, worldly people, karmi lokaiva na vidwan. He was not ignorant. He was an ocean of knowledge, bhakti and vairagya. Means he did not have any attachment like this. He was also not interested that he wants to go to heaven, because putra means who will do Shraddha, Pindadan and Punnam Narkatrayate iti putra, who protects you from falling down to a hell called Put, or one who purifies you, Pavati iti putra. So he says he did not have any of these needs. So therefore he gave. Lelavai. So this is his non-attachment. Nanu etadrishasya swameva vadharthamanita putrasya tasya kamsah katham putram hantum arhatu. So now he says that even this being so, that Kamsa, Vasudeva is bringing his own son to Kamsa for killing. How is that Kamsa could do such a thing that he could kill the son? So then he says, Kimakaryam kadaryanam. That those who are kadarya, low class people, what is that? What heinous crime they cannot do? Akarya means something not normal or something which is heinous. So they can do anything. So kim atra api ardra chitro na bhavet. So he did not feel any compassion for his own nephew. How is this? Tatraha kim akaryamiti. So then he says, they can do anything. Nanu tarhi sarvadosha pariharaya vasudevo gahrasthyam eva kim na tatyaja. So then he says that in this case, why is that Vasudeva did not take sannyas? He got married and he saved Devaki. After that, he could have taken sannyas. So I take sannyas, then no more children. Devaki is protected, I am protected. Kamsa can do whatever he likes to do. So then he says, what about Krishna? Tena tad garastham api tyaktum sakyam eva. He says, yes, it was possible for him to give up his family life. Kevalam matputratvam prapshato harer mukham kadadrakshami iti manoratheneva grihesthiyate. So he says he had only one desire, when will I see this face of my son Krishna? And therefore he remained in home and he was able to sacrifice other sons just with the intention to see Krishna. Can you give the mic back?
Just came in my mind that there was no any sin involved in giving a child for retreats like that.
Which sin?
And
He promised his word, he's keeping his word, and he promised to protect Devaki. So this is the price he's paying for that. It is Kamsa who will get sin, not him. Why should he get the sin?
because it's a crime.
Yeah, but crime you have to see why he's doing. He think he's happily doing it.
No, he's obliged
So,
to do that.
so then how can it be crime? It's his dharma now to do it. Sin means to act against dharma, right? So he promised, so he is now keeping his word. So how is it sin? Why you don't mute it? So, ateva dhrita atma hariputra rupi is tesam. So therefore the word dhritatmanam, dhritatma generally means somebody who is very forbearing. But here he is taking the meaning of atma as Paramatma or Krishna. So means who is holding on to Hari. So ateva dhrita atma hari putra rupi is tesam. Those who have accepted Krishna as their son, so for them, they can give up everything else. So teneva hetuna putrantreshu api na snihate sma. Therefore, for that very reason, he could give up other sons, thinking of Krishna as the eighth child coming. Ashtama putrasya samayah sigram bhavatu iti utkanthya eva prativarsham ek garbho adhiyatasma. And because he was eager to have the eighth child, so therefore every year one child was coming. Otherwise he could have said, okay, eighth child will kill Kamsa, so I will not produce so quickly. I will give a gap of 3-4 years. It will take 24, 32 or whatever years before he comes. He wanted that he comes quickly. So therefore Anuvatsaram, we read in the previous sloka. बालवधे स्वस्य अनुमंत्रित्व लक्षण पाप स्वीकारश्च इत्यादि तत्वम अवधेय. So now you can say he is answering this, that he even accepted the sin, as you are saying, of allowing the child to be killed so that Krishna can come. So if you want to say that he was sinful, okay, for higher cause he is willing to do that. So now what did Kamsa do? Kamsa also had a heart. He was not that cruel. When he saw the small baby crying, and he said, oh, how can I kill this? And what is my fear from him? So drishtva samatvam tachaurehe satye chaiva vyavasthitim kansastushtamana rajan prahasan idam abravit. So Sukadeva Goswami says that, O king, when he saw that Vasudev was very equanimous, means he was not feeling very inimical towards Kamsa, with a very balanced feeling he brought the child. And so he saw this, that how he was Satya Chaiva Vyavasthiti, how he was devoted to truthfulness, that he kept his word and his bringing. So then Kamsa became very satisfied with that. He was very pleased with Vasudev's behavior, that he has been so truthful. So then he laughed and spoke as follows. So he did not want to kill this baby. So Kamsa also had a change of heart. Children are like that, right? They look so cute, but he will change his heart again. So samatvam putrapi mamatva bhavat sarvatra samyam. So samatva here is that he was not having attachment towards the child. Means Vasudeva was not crying or anything. He just brought in a very sober mood and gave. Inside, of course, he must have a turmoil, but he was not completely overwhelmed, and he was also not looking very angry at Kamsa, and he gave the child. So Kamsa did not want to kill the baby. He was actually very satisfied with his behavior. And he said as follows, Pratiyatu kumaroyam nahi asmadasti me bhayam ashtamadhyuvayor garbhad mrityur me vihita kila. He said, please take this boy back to home, and my fear is not from him. Rather, my fear is from the 8th child, Ashtamat Garbhat. He is supposed to be the cause of my death. That's what was spoken by the voice. So therefore, why shall I kill unnecessarily? And Vasudeva has already preached to him that unnecessary death will bring sin. So Kamsa also had this much brain that if my fear is from the 8th child, he wanted to kill Devaki so that there is no 8th child. But now when she is spared, why kill the other 7 children? Because my fear is from the 8th one. So he also did not want to implicate himself in unnecessary sin. So he says, no, take him away. तथेति सुतमादाय ययौवानक दुन्दुभिः नाभ्यनन्दत तद्वाक्यम असतो अभिजितात्मनः. So Vasudeva, he said tatha iti, that okay, let it be so, and he took the son and he came back to his house, but he was not very happy. Why was he not very happy? Because he says that tadvakyam asato abhijitatman, that his statement is not worthy of trust. Why? Because he does not have control over his senses. So this is what you see at present. People make statements, they promise. They are not very trustworthy because they can change. They don't forget, they don't remember nothing. They make statements even when they are promising something, they are not really thinking that I have to keep it. I have to keep my words. And if little problem comes, he says, forget it. I don't care. People don't fear now telling lies. There is no such. Previously people had some fear of sin or religion or suffering. Now that is not there. Most modern people don't believe in any religion or anything like that. And even if they believe, it's only for the namesake. It is namesake that they say that I belong to so and so religion. They don't really practice it. So therefore, telling lies is a norm. If you don't tell lie, they say, then how will you progress? Right? So this has become like an attribute now. So he knew that Kamsa, so those who are ajitendriya, those who do not have control over senses, then it is difficult for them to keep their word. Because to keep your word, you have to have control of what you have said. But if you are under the control of your senses, how would you keep your word? Even if you remember, your senses will force you to do that. Right? So, Balwan Indriya Gramo. Right? Their senses are powerful. So they pull you. And especially people are taking intoxicants. Then they have no control. Even if some control is there, then when somebody is intoxicated, then he can say anything and he can do anything. Later on he may say sorry or whatever, but at that time, because he loses. That's why people drink. Because they are stressed out and then they lose control. You're stress free. So they feel relaxed. So therefore he says that this fellow is not trustworthy. So I don't know whether it is really believable that he did not kill the baby. So chane rushtaha, chane tushta, rushta tushta kshane kshane. Avyavasthitasya chittasya prasadopi bhayankara. So a person who is happy in 1 minute and angry in another minute and happy, angry, minute. Rushte tushte shane shane. Changes like this, like a pendulum. So how can you trust such a person? If he is happy now, then next minute he can be unhappy, and then whatever he has said now, he will forget that. Right? When you are angry, then you lose your memory. Right? कामात् क्रोधो विजायते, क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः, सम्मोहात् स्मृति विभ्रमः. So you lose memory, you forget what you said. And if you forget, then how would you follow it? So therefore he says, avyavasthitasya chittasya prasado api bhayankara. That a person who has avyavasthit chitta, same means whose chitta, whose mind is not stable, not under control, even his pleasure is dangerous. Even if he is pleased with you, that is dangerous, because he is pleased with you and you will believe that person, and then he will change. So then you will be in trouble because you believed him. So better not to believe. So putting faith in such a person is inviting trouble, because he is saying now something, and after a few days he says, well, I really didn't mean that. Anyway, I said it at that time. I was in that mood. People say like this. Now my mood is different. And there's a common statement, screw it. That's it. Then they can do anything. It's a statement of freedom. Just screw it. So therefore Vasudev, who himself is a person of stable mind, who is keeping his word, so he understands Kamsa is like this, so how can he trust that? So that's why when somebody comes to spiritual life, it is important to be truthful. Because in the material life, this training is not there anymore. People have no qualms about it. If they tell lies, it's fine. They don't feel guilty about telling lies. So in spiritual life, it does not work, because you are dealing with Satyam Param, Satyavrata, Satya Param tu Satyam, Satyasya yoni nihitam cha Satya, Satyat Satyam, Satya Netram, Satyatmukam Tvam Sharanam Prapadde. So Krishna is all Satya. He is Satyavrata, he is Satya Param, he is Trisatya. So if we have to deal with him, we have to be truthful. If you are not truthful, then forget it. So it is very, very important. So many of the rules which we follow in spiritual life, they also have this purpose, so that you can control your mind and senses, because that is needed to be truthful. If you have to do seva and you are not truthful, then you will do it one day and second day you won't do it. So how would Krishna feel then? So he will not be reliable. And love is something which is most reliable. If you love somebody, then you have trust in that person, right? And that you don't expect that person to deceive you, to cheat you, to trick you, to say one thing and not do it. So that's why Bhagavatam says, Dharma projita kaituvatra, that all deception principles are kicked out here. So that is what love is. It is free from deception. Then naturally there is truthfulness. There is fixity, control of mind and senses. These are natural characteristics of love. So in the beginning we have to just work with them. So therefore doing service brings you to that discipline of controlling your mind, controlling your senses, being truthful. So it begins with that. So here we see that he knows that Kamsa is not trustworthy. because he can change his mind anytime. Whatever is not anukul to him, then he will change. As in Bhakti we say Janukulyasya Sankalpa Pratikulyasya Varjanam, that you do favorable act towards Guru and Krishna and not do something which is not favorable. So in material world it applies to oneself. You do what is favorable to yourself and avoid what is not favorable to you, and for that truth and all these rules, they are kicked out. So therefore he says, I cannot, he is not worthy of trust. But still he went home and took the baby, but he was not thrilled that the baby is saved. And we will see later on that he will kill him anyway. So I will stop here if there is any question. Yes.
So,
Babaji,
you mentioned that Vasudeva and Devaki, they knew that Krishna will appear as their son. Will it be explained later, or how did they knew this?
Yes.
Okay. And then I have another question. You mentioned that, or I understood that the 6 brothers of Krishna, they were sons of the sage Marichi, who were cursed by Brahma to be born on earth 3 times.
Yeah.
So, could you explain the background of that? What happened?
No, they laughed at Brahma when Brahma ran after his daughter. So then he cursed them. Okay.
Babaji, one question I had, that can we say that like these wicked people like Kamsa, etc., they are taking undue advantage of the truthfulness of Vasudeva?
Why should he not take?
Sometimes you have a situation where a person is like it can be used in both ways. Because
Yeah, but it is, he spared the life of Devaki on his promise. So now what do you mean that he is taking undue advantage? It is Vasudeva who promised it. He didn't ask him, right? It is Vasudeva who offered that I will give my children to you, please spare Devaki. So he did that. So how is he taking undue advantage?
undue advantage in the sense like I would say that he would have like he is sparing this first child, and then again he will call and kill him.
Yeah, because Narada comes and brainwashes him. Narada will say, well, maybe this is the 8th one. So then he says, okay, if that is the case, then I have to kill him.
I agree, but one more point I just want to clarify a little bit. That supposing we stand with truth and we decide in our life to be truthful, and then we find that some people are trying to take undue advantage, so should we draw a boundary that time?
Yeah, why should you allow yourself to be exploited? Okay, anything else?
Babaji, I have a question. Why did Vasudeva, is there a reason why he said that he will give Kamsa all his children, and instead of saying that I will give the last son to you?
So it is not explained, but you can say that maybe in that state he was not thinking very, deeply. Somehow he wanted that Devaki is spared, so he says, "Don't worry, whatever child is born, I'll give you." Or he thought the same thing as Narada is going to come and tell that eighth can be any eighth. So you're thinking that if I say, "Okay, I will give you the eighth child," he may say, "Well, which one is eighth?" So he says, "You can have all 8. Just spare Devaki's." So somehow he wanted that Devaki's life is spared at that time. Then some explanation will come later on also. They are saying that if he became too friendly with him, not killing the children of Devaki, then maybe Krishna will not come. He will think, what is the point in going? Kamsa is not so bad. So therefore thinking like this, he says, let me give my children, let him come, then Krishna has to come. So to make sure that he comes. So this is also explanation.
Speak a little louder, Mike.
In the Tikkun 58, where it's talking about Vidusham Kim Apekshitam, then there was this phrase, Grihastasya Tata Putra Matra Upeksha Mayujyate. I couldn't grasp what was intended to be said there.
Means if when somebody is grihastha, then they need children. Okay? Because people become grihastha, as I've been saying, to have a child.
Right.
So therefore it is not expected that they don't have attachment to children or they don't need children. So how could he give up his own son to come suffer killing? So then he says, Kim Dustajam, Vidusham Kim, what is it? Kim Apekshitam. So because he is a Vidusha, he is Bhakti Gyan Vairagya, right? That's what he's saying, that he is Bhakti Gyan Vairagya Mahodadhe. He is an ocean of Bhakti Gyan and Vairagya. Therefore he was not having that apeksha, that kind of attachment.
I guess that part makes sense, but when it's saying that a grihastha should not have that apeksha, that seems to go against the opposite of the idea that the purpose of marriage is to have children.
Upeksha and apeksha. Upeksha means indifference, means he should not be indifferent. Apeksha means...
Okay, there we go. I'm confusing apeksha. Thank you. Now I got it.
Okay, anything else?